Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel from Evelyn and Peter, and today I have this super soft and cozy crochet cardigan for you all. I use Line Brand Sherpa fleece for this one. So this is a jumbo size yarn, so this cardigan works up really quickly. I did it in just over a weekend, so you can work this up really fast. I'm going to show it. Stand up so you guys can see. It is very oversized, very wide, so you can see it has a rectangular shape. If you want it to be more fitted and have less of this wide drapey look, you could easily keep out a row repeat on both sides, and it would make it smaller, so you have that as an option. And then it features these cute little puff detail along the cuff and the bottom of the cardigan. I'll give a little spin so you can see all the way around. If you didn't want that portion in it as well, you could keep those out. I'll tell you how in just a second. So this cardigan is worked from side to side with minimal seaming. You will have to seam just this little L shape here on both sides to close up your cardigan, but other than that, you'll be starting here on this side and then working the back and the front together in a long row, and just working your way across. And then when you reach here, you will continue working along the back neckline. And then once you get over here to this side, you're going to make a long chain. So you're going to extend out the next row so that it is the same as this side to create that second front panel, and then just keep working across so it's in one huge panel. And then once you get to the other side here, you can fasten off your yarn, and then we just add the sleeves in by joining our yarn with a slip stitch on the sides, and I'll show you how to do that in the tutorial obviously. And then you just continue working your sleeves in rows. You're going to do that for both sides, and then once you have the sleeves on, that's when you'll fold everything over and just do that quick little seam to close up your cardigan, and that is it. So it's pretty easy to customize. Like I said, if you want it longer, you can do your starting row longer. And then if you want the width of the cardigan to be a little bit smaller, if you don't want it as oversized, you can just take out, you'll have to take out 2 rows on each side because of the little puff detail that we have down here. To make it even on both, you'll have to take out 2 from each side. Or if you are making your cardigan without the little puff details, you can just remove rows from both sides as well. The puff details are actually really simple too. They're just treble crochet stitches, and then when you work the single crochet in the end, it gives it a cute little puff for it. So there's not much specific to know for this pattern besides those customizing options. You'll want to make sure as you're going along that you feel these stitches with this yarn. Sometimes it can be hard to see your actual stitches, so don't try and see as you go. You'll want to feel, and I show you in the video how I do that, feeling as I go. If you are comfortable using stitch markers to try and keep count, that helps as well with this type of yarn. And then you're also using a pretty big hook. You use a 15mm hook, so it's not like you're making tons of crazy or different unique stitches. It's all single crochet except for the little treble crochet puffs on the end, and for the most part your stitch count will stay the same all along here, and then it'll be changed slightly for the back neckline, and then will be the same all along here as well, and it stays the same in your sleeves as well. So there's not a ton of shaping, so you don't have to worry about messing up your stitch count. So that's pretty simple. And then this is also a combined size cardigan because this is so oversized. Like, this cardigan could obviously fit an extra small, a small, and a medium size, just depending on how you want the fit. If you don't want it as wide, like I said, you can either size down or you can remove 2 rows on each side to make it to your liking. But other than that, I have the kit available with Line Brand, and I will link that in the description. The kit comes with a free copy of my printable pattern. And then you will just have to pay for yarn, which they frequently have sales and discounts for. So if you want to keep an eye out for that, you should go subscribe to my newsletter, and I always send out when they're having really good deals. And other than that, I will link to the kit, and the printable patterns are also available on my Etsy and Ravelry shop, so I'll link to those as well. And then I also recommend, if you are making this cardigan and following with the video tutorial, that you follow along with the written pattern as well. I'm making the size small, medium in the video, so if you're making a different size, make sure you're following along. Even if you're making the same size, you'll always want to have that written pattern, which is free on my blog, pulled up so you can make sure your stitch count, row count, everything like that is good. So yeah, I'll link to that free pattern as well for you guys, and I hope you like the design, and I hope you enjoy making it. I can't wait to see all of your finished Polar Puff coats, and I will catch you guys in the next tutorial. For this pattern, you're going to need Lion Brand's Go for Fleece Sherpa yarn. This is a jumbo yarn, and it has a nice fluffy texture to it. All the yardage for this one is available on my blog for all 5 of the sizes. You're also going to need a 15mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and then a needle to weave in your ends. So this cardigan is worked from side to side. We're going to go ahead and grab our yarn and create a slip knot. And we're going to be starting in the main body of the cardigan. So not the sleeve, just the main body. And we're working from side to side, so it's all in one piece. So for this part, you can either do a starting chain or you can do a foundation single crochet stitch. It just depends on your experience with this yarn, if you're comfortable working with the fluffy yarn. If not, you might want to do a chain, so it might be a little bit easier for you, but I found that doing the foundation single crochet was easiest for me. So for that, you start off by chaining 2, so just yarn over and pull through 2 times, and then in that first chain that we just made, you can feel around for that back bump on the back of the chain. The fur is kind of attached to a string, so you'll be able to see and feel that string. Insert your hook into that first chain that you just made, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first loop only, and then yarn over, pull through both loops, and that is 1 foundation single crochet. If you're not understanding how to do this technique and you've never done it before, I recommend maybe just chaining instead, so you don't have to try and learn the foundation stitch with this fluffy yarn. So on the bottom of the first one that we just made, you're going to insert your hook under both loops, yarn over, pull up a loop for 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first loop only, and then yarn over, pull through both loops, and that will be our second foundation single crochet. I like to kind of hold my fingers onto that chain that we made, so I know where I'm inserting my hook. Using this yarn, you're going to be doing a lot of feeling instead of trying to see your stitches. So watch my fingers here as I go. We're going to yarn over, and then I'm going to grab that portion right there, which is where we insert our hook. I'm going to hold on to that so that I can easily recognize where to put my hook for this next stitch. So I'm just holding on to it, and then I want to put my hook underneath both loops right there for the foundation single crochet stitches that we're doing. I'm going to be doing a total of 46 foundation single crochet. And again, if you're not doing the foundation single crochet and you would rather do a starting chain, you can go ahead and chain 1 more than what the pattern calls for your size. So if you're doing the size small and needed 46, go ahead and chain 47, and then in the second chain from the hook, work 1 single crochet into it, into each chain all the way across, for a total of 46 single crochet. So I have a total of 46 here, and we're at the end of the row. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work to start row 2. And then from here on out, we're just going to be working the same amount of stitches for the next little while. So in that first stitch, you can go ahead and find that, insert it under both the front and back loop, and then just work a single crochet. And then in the following stitch, go ahead and feel with your fingers, and then we're going to be working a treble crochet stitch into it. So wrap the yarn around your hook twice, and then insert your hook into that next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over again and pull through the following 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops for 1 treble crochet stitch. And then in the following stitch, work a single crochet. And then at each of the remaining stitches across the row is going to be single crochets. So this treble stitch kind of poofs to the back and it creates the little bumps along the bottom hem of our cardigan. So if you didn't want the little bumps, or they kind of look like baubles with this yarn, if you didn't want those, you could just skip them and do single crochet all the way across. So every other row, we're going to be doing the treble stitch in the second single crochet. So go ahead and work your single crochet stitches across the row. And then when you get to the final 2 stitches, we're going to be doing the same thing. So we're going to work a treble crochet stitch into the second from last stitch, and then a single crochet into the final stitch. So this way we have the little puffs on both sides of the cardigan, because again, we're working side to side. So it'll make it, once we fold it and seam it together, you will have the puff on the bottom of the front of your cardigan and the bottom of the back of your cardigan as well. So we're doing that every other row. This was row 2, and we will be doing that trebles every other row. So once you finish this one, your stitch count will still be the same. We're not changing or doing any shaping right here. So just chain 1 and turn your work. And then row 3, you're just going to be working 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across the row. So again, you need to make sure you're feeling for your stitches. Don't try and see them with this type of yarn. It's a lot easier if you just use your fingers as you go and insert your fingers into the little space and holes that you feel. It's easier in person. Instead of looking at this video, you'll be able to feel as you go with your fingers once you're holding the yarn. And just do this all the way across until you reach the end of the row. Okay, so we reached the end of row 3, and you're just going to chain 1 and turn your work to start row 4. And these last 2 rows that we just did are what we're going to be repeating. So again, I'm making the size small, and I'm going to be repeating rows 2 and 3 until I have a total of 17 rows for this portion. So we already have 3 rows, so rows 4 through 17, you will be repeating rows 2 and 3. So row 2 is the treble crochet row. So you make your treble stitch in the second stitch of the row, single crochet across, and then finish with a treble and a single into the last stitch. And then the following row will just be a single crochet row. So go ahead and, depending on your size, repeat as many rows 2 and 3 as required, and I will meet you back here when I am finished with mine. Okay, so now I have a total of 17 rows for the size small. If you're trying to count my rows from this video, just ignore what you see. I'm off by a couple from in the written pattern. I went back and added and fixed this while I was designing, so just ignore that. And you should have a total of 17 rows for the size small. We're going to begin row 18 where we are splitting the neckline. So for that, we won't be working all the way across. We're only going to be working halfway across, and this is for all of the sizes. You might be on a different row depending on which size you're making, because all the row counts will be different. But for this following row, we will be doing the neckline splitting. So chain 1 and turn your work. And then we need to remember that this is a treble row repeat because we do the treble stitches every other row. So in the second stitch, make sure you work your treble crochet stitch. Another easy way to remember that it's the treble row is when all the little poofs are on the opposite side of your work facing away from you. You know that you need to be working that treble stitch in the second stitch of the row. So after you do that, just work, continue with your single crochet stitches. I am going to be making a single, a treble, and then working 21 stitches across of just single crochet, and that will get me halfway across. So we're just splitting the cardigan directly in half if your stitch count is a different amount. You know that you only go halfway, and then we're going to stop and then chain 1 and turn our work. And for row 19, we're just going to work our way back across, working 1 single crochet into each stitch. So I will have a total of 23 single crochet stitches for this row. And then depending on your size, we're just going to be repeating these 2 rows to finish the back neckline area. So go ahead and work your way across. And then when you get to the end, chain 1 and turn your work. This starts row 20 for the size small. And then I'm just going to repeat row 18. So 1 single crochet in the first, and then 1 TR, and then single crochet across. And then once I work my way across here, I'm just going to chain 1 and turn my work. And then for rows 21 and 22, I'm just going to repeat again, and I will be ending on a row 18 repeat. So we will be ending on a row that we have the TR, the treble crochet stitch in. So I have a total of 5 half rows here. So the rows that I only worked halfway across, I have a total of 5 of them. Yours might be different depending on your size. I think maybe one of the sizes has 7 rows and the rest have 5, just depending on how the math worked out. So make sure you are paying attention to that. Make sure you have the same amount of rows that you should for your size. And then now we are going to be creating the opposite side of the cardigan. So technically this skinnier portion here is the front panel that when we fold it over, we need to extend our row here so that we have the same thing on the opposite side and we create that second front panel. So for the size small, I am going to be chaining 24 because we want our stitch count to equal out to what we had in the beginning after row 1. So I'm going to chain 24, and then depending on your size, go ahead and check how many you should be chaining by checking the written pattern. And then we're just going to be working our stitches into this chain length that we just made. So in that second chain from the hook, go ahead and feel it with your fingers. And also make sure you didn't chain too tightly here. You don't want the chains to be so tight that it scrunches up the front panel of your cardigan. So just be aware of your tension as you are making your chains. So in the second chain from the hook, I'm going to insert my hook and just work a single crochet. And again into the following, so in the third chain from the hook. And we're just going to do this all the way across. So I'm just feeling the chains with my fingers and working 1 single crochet into each of them. Go ahead and do this all the way across the row until you reach that back panel. Okay, and then once you reach the previous row, we're going to keep going across to finish off this row. So we had that long chain, we worked 1 stitch into each of the chains, and now we're just going to keep going. We're still in the same row here. I am in row 23 for the size small. So this whole portion is considered row 23. And you just continue working across as normal, working 1 single crochet into each stitch until you get to the end of the row. Okay, now we are back to our original stitch count. So I have 46 single crochet. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And now we're just going to continue repeating rows 2 and 3 to finish this opposite side of the sweater. So this is a treble row. Make sure you're not forgetting to add in your treble stitches here in the second stitch. And then when we get to the end of the row here, you want to make sure you do it on that side again as well. Now we didn't do it along the back neckline, but now that we are back into the main portion of the cardigan, do it on both ends. And then just repeat rows 2 and 3 until you have the correct amount of rows for your size. So I will have a total of 39 rows for my entire cardigan from start to finish. We're basically just doing the same thing on this side that we did on the previous. It should be even and the same amount of rows for both front panels. So I will meet you back here after I reach row 39. Okay, so I have completed the main portion of my cardigan, and now we need to attach the sleeves. We're going to be joining in our yarn directly onto the edge of the panel here. So you're going to lay your cardigan out in front of you with the wrong side facing up, and then we're going to count our stitches from right to left in, and then join our yarn with a slip stitch. So depending on your size, you'll have to count in a different amount of stitches. For the size small, I will be counting in 14 stitches total from right to left, and then joining into that 14th stitch with a new piece of yarn and doing a slip stitch. So just use your fingers and drag it along that last row, feeling for each hole as you go. When you reach the correct hole for your size, just join in your yarn. So I'm just joining in with a regular slip stitch, and then I'm also going to chain one, and we're going to be working our first stitch of the row into the same spot that we joined in. So slip stitch in, and then in that very first stitch, we're going to work a single crochet, and then again into the following, and you're going to continue for a total of 20 single crochet for the size small. So we joined in the first one, work 19 more across for a total of 20 single crochet. We'll be leaving a portion of this unworked. We're not going all the way across because this is just the sleeve. So again, make sure you're checking your size to see how many stitches you need for whatever size cardigan you're making. So I'm going to go ahead and work my 20 single crochet for row 1 of the sleeve. Okay, and then once we complete row 1, we're going to leave this portion unworked. And now we're just going to chain one and turn our work, and we're just going to be working one single crochet into each of the stitches across the row, just creating the sleeve. So you're not going to be doing any shaping here, just work one single crochet into each of the stitches for as many rows needed for your size. I am going to be doing a total of 17 rows of just single crochet, and then I will meet you back here to show you how to do the 18th and final row of the sleeve. So go ahead and work your single crochet stitches into each row across, chain one, turn your work, and just repeat. Okay, so this is row 18, our final row of the sleeve. You can drape your cardigan over you and see if you need your sleeves longer or shorter. And you can just go ahead and add or take away as many rows as needed for that. But in your first stitch, work a single crochet, and then in the second stitch, work a treble crochet. And then we're just going to repeat that across the row. So work a single crochet into the third stitch. This is creating our little bumps on the outside cuff. And then in the fourth one, work a treble crochet. So single, treble, all the way across the row until you get to the very end. And then I will show you how to finish off this row and complete the sleeve. Okay, so once you reach the end of the row, you should be ending on a treble stitch. So work your final treble into that last stitch of the row. And then to finish off the sleeve, you're going to slip stitch into that very same stitch. So we want to kind of poof that treble out, and to do that, you just work your hook into that same stitch of the last treble is in and slip stitch in, pulling your yarn through the loop on your hook, and then you can just go ahead and fasten off. You're going to want to fasten off enough yarn to seam your cardigan together. So just make sure you're leaving a nice long tail like I did here, and then you need to go back and work a second sleeve. So you can go ahead and flip your work over with the wrong side facing up again and work your second sleeve, repeating exactly what we did, and then leave a long tail on that one as well. So now our cardigan is all complete. We just need to sew the sides together. So I have my cardigan right sides facing, so the little poofs are on the inside right now, so that we can seam the cardigan together. And you're going to want to do this on both sides using that long tail of yarn that we left at the cuff. You're going to take your needle and just sew from the cuff of the sleeve all the way to the underarm, and then continue from the underarm down to the hem of the cardigan. So we're kind of just going in an L shape. When you work your needle through, you'll just have to feel for the stitches. Make sure you actually catch that string and not just think that you're going through a stitch and really you're just going through the fluff of the yarn. Make sure you catch the string and then pull it through, working through both sides of the panel to sew it together. And then also just make sure your cardigan is lined up evenly so that the rows are even as you go, and that the cardigan is nice and even. You're also going to use this needle to weave in any remaining ends that you might have, and then just turn your cardigan right side out. And that is it for this tutorial. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment for more free tutorials and content, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.